Live from you on Facebook. Thank you.
What's up,
And
everyone?
you're
Can you
listening
be
to
kind and share
Frankie
this?
Cutlets on the 1-2 there in the backdrop.
Hey.
Freestyle music, all you freestyle lovers out there, you know.
Welcome
For
to
all
the
my
Monday
fans
Night
that watch my
Freestyle
show, this is how I
Classic.
begin my show with a little
My
freestyle
name is
music
DJ
to get
Frankie
to
Cutlets.
get us in the mood.
Let's
So I just
go.
want to say hello to everyone
We
who's
got
out there
Julio Mena in
watching.
the building.
About wholesaling and from beginning to end on how to write up a contract, to how to negotiate, how to call, how to driving for dollars, financing it, hard money lenders, to vending, to even how to calculate repair, rehab budget. All the intricacies about wholesaling and investment real estate. Here at Hilco Homes, we're able to provide you a free service online. And again, we just want to get that network going so you can start networking with your other investors in your local market. Okay, we are a national company here. Whatever parts of the country you're in or internationally, we all want you to start to network is key to this business. So shout out to Anthony. What's up, Anthony Gomez? I hope you got that price reduction I told you about. I want to see it. I'm gonna Zillow it now. I better have that new price, Anthony. Shout out to all my friends watching: Scott, Lewis, Felipe, Marcus, Quinton. Today we're gonna go over a very important subject, which is how to write up a contract, not a one-family contract. All right, we want to start learning how to do some mega deals here, guys. All right. If you like that, give me some likes and give me some hearts. If you want to start contracting 5 units or more. How's that sound? 5, 6, 10, 15, 20, 30, 100 units. You could do it. If the market is there, there's nothing holding you back. Thank God we live in a great country where you could contract as many units as you like and maybe score $1 million wholesale deal. All right. So, now, most wholesalers, when they think about this business, is strictly single family dwellings, and that would be correct. Your bread and butter is single family dwellings. Okay, don't ever forget that. And that's for 90% of the market is single family homes. I don't care if you're in Florida, Ohio, California, or here in San Antonio, Texas. That's gonna probably be your market. With that said, it doesn't mean you can't look at a multi-unit building that might fall on your lap tomorrow and say, hey, Hernando, you got any, you think you can wholesale this property? It's a 6-unit, it's a 5-unit, it's a 10-unit. Okay, this show tonight is going to show you how to properly write up a contract so you could take that baby down yourself, okay? And not have to go to a lawyer, not have to go to another attorney or another wholesaler that may have more experience than you, okay? And the premise is the same, like a one family, but it's a little different. The contract for a commercial is a little bit more detailed, and we're going to go over that tonight, okay? So if you like the subject that we're talking about tonight, give me some likes, give me some hearts, and let's get the ball rolling here tonight. Awesome, thank you for the likes, appreciate it. Whew. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope it was relaxing. It's 110 degrees out here in San Antonio, and it's really, really, really hot. And I was indoors most of the time, so keep that in mind. Stay cool. Be careful out there. Let's see, I have a connect your live stream to live AI API here. I hope you can see me. If you can see me, give me some likes. I know I'm on a little bit of a delay here with my systems here, but I wouldn't be surprised with the weather so hot that sometimes these streams go off. As you can see on that screen there, it says connect to my live stream API. Hello, Clarabelle. Thank you for watching. Hope you're doing well. Okay, so with that said, let me go ahead and, you know what, I need a little more freestyle here. 1 second.
Come on.
Julio Mena. Check this out, right? Let me know anything you want's on me. Baby girl, you my queen. I got you. Lay it on the line for you. Baby girl, I ride for you. I die for you. I would never lie to you. I lay a sucker down for you. Cause you're my boo. Everything I say is true. I'm keeping it 100 with you, baby.
All right. Pretty good. All right. So, this is a condition property disclosure. We want to go into the miscellaneous. Let me pull it up here. I should have had this already pulled up, but I'll just get it up in a second. Miscellaneous forms. Okay, here we go. All right. You know, I just do quick access. Okay, commercial property to purchase. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Now, technically, in Texas, anything over 5 apartments, 5 units, 5 doors, whatever you want to call it, is considered commercial real estate. Okay. Now, we're not talking industrial here tonight. We're not talking warehouses, retail, office space. No, we're talking apartment rentals, 5 units or more here in Texas, or in I don't know what the state you're in, but anything here is 5 apartments or more is considered commercial real estate. Okay. And so keep that in mind. Now, this form that we use for commercial contract is a Texas Association of Realtors. This is a form that's used to contract commercial real estate. I pretty much doubt there isn't a TREC form for this. So that's a major difference here. In order for you to use this form, you're going to have to get your hands on it through an agent or a broker. And I'll be happy to send you guys one. I'll be happy to email you this contract, okay? But this is the Texas Association of Realtors. If you look at this top here, TAR. This is a TAR form. It's not a TREC form, okay? You can go online and see if there's a commercial form through TREC. I doubt it. So keep that in mind. I use the TAR. We call it TAR, TAR form, okay? Yes, how you doing, Alex? Yes, I did get a haircut, and you already know that, so why you're asking. All right. So the first lines here is parties. Just like the regular 1 to 4 family, the seller, the buyer, or purchaser, their names and their addresses. See, it's a little different. You can see from the first clause number 1, it asks for the seller's name, right? You're going to put Mr. Jones, right? Okay, the address. Now, on the address, you don't put the property's address. You want to put the owner's current residence or other office that they live in, okay? So always keep that in mind. You don't want to put the subject property address on this here line. You want to put his primary home, right? Or a P.O. box or some other address. Could be his other office if he's a business person. Remember, when you're dealing with commercial properties, you're dealing with someone a little bit more astute and more educated, more sophisticated kind of seller. So they may have an office they work out of. They may have another home, of course. They may not live at that property. That's where you're going to put this address here on this clause number 1. The phone number, obviously. Email, very important. Okay. Remember, this is information that the title is going to use to correspond with the sellers and buyers. You're not the end buyer, you're the wholesaler. So you got to be very important that the title has all this information so they can communicate properly with both parties. Okay. You got to have this completed. Okay. Now, moving on, fax machine. Of course, you can see that this form is a little bit outdated. I don't know who has a fax machine anymore. Can you? Anyone watching has a fax machine? Let me know. Drinking my coffee shake here. Yes, Alex, thank you for watching, and I'm sure you have a lot of comments to make, but let me get through this here. Look, Alex says, can't wait to get my first commercial contract written up. Well, I think you've done a few commercial properties. If I'm not mistaken, we might have JV'd a few deals, Alex. 40 units is the goal to wholesale. Okay. Yes, we do. Good. All right, buyers. You want to put the buyer's information here. Now, remember, you're the buyer, right? For us, we're going to write Hilco Homes, right? Hilco Homes. Boom. And we use LLC. Okay? The address. We have a P.O. box that we use, okay? And so we're going to go with the P.O. box. Why do we use a P.O. box? Because, you know what, guys? We may not want these sellers and buyers knowing where we're located, you know? So we use a P.O. box for security reasons. Okay? Phone numbers, our email, goes there. Along with, you know, if you don't have an LLC, guys, you could put your name, and if you don't have an addendum with certain language about why you could sell this contract, like we do, we use an addendum, which is an attachment to the contract that gives us the legal way to wholesale the property. If you don't have that, you could put your name as the buyer and then just write and or assigns. So that way you have totally legitimate reason to sell this contract to another buyer. Okay. We have Jarrell on the line. Thank you for watching. Quintasha, Gabrielle, and a lot of people coming in and out. Don. Okay, so that's the first part. Part one is the sellers, the parties, and part two. Okay, moving into part two. This is the address. Okay, property means that real property situated in. Well, that's going to where you're going to put 1, 2, 3. Main Street, right there, okay, and the county, okay. So excuse me, no, that goes over here. Main Street goes on the second line, right, along with the state, the city, and the state. This first line is going to be the county. So here in San Antonio, it's Bexar County, okay, Bexar County. Hope you guys could read that, Bexar County, and over here is the address, right? Let me make it bigger so you can see what I'm typing, okay. Main Street, San Antonio, Texas, 78209. Okay? Wonderful. And then the last line, it says, and that is legally described on the attached exhibit A or B as follows. You know, I never used this before, but the legal description is important. An exhibit A would probably be over here, exhibit A, and then you just go ahead and just add the property, the legal description. Everybody knows what a legal description is, right? Because if you're doing a single family house has a legal description. Now, you could add it over here, the legal description. If you want to attach an exhibit A that has a legal description, that's fine, but it's only going to be a one-line sentence. So I hate to see you waste one whole page for just a one-line description. I would probably just add it right over here where it says and or follows. So here, where it says and or follows, that's where you put the NCB. You know the NCB with the block and lot is kind of like this, like I'm writing right here. See that? All right, guys. Just add it right there. Boom. You're perfect. You're beautiful. You're golden right there, baby. You are golden, baby. All right. All right. So let's see. We got a couple of comments here. Jarrell Keys says, will you be keeping this up? Well, Jarrell, I've been doing this for the last 3 months. Where you been? But I got some exciting news for you, right? Because I'm putting all of these tutorials into one page. And I'm going to give you that surprise at the end, all right? And it's going to be easy for you, Jarrell, to go down my playlist, All right, I'm already giving it away, right? And so you can watch all my tutorials. But yeah, I've been playing this, doing these Monday night motivational Mondays for over 3 months. It seems that way, anyway. Okay, so great question. Now we're going over commercial contract for wholesale on multiple family homes. Remember, multifamily commercial is anything over 5 units or more. Okay, 2B is some legal terminology. Okay, so you should always be reading these contracts. By the way, it talks about mineral rights, utilities, leases, rents. This is commercial. It's a whole different animal, guys. So be prepared to be more involved in a deal like this, okay? And it's much more information that's needed. Okay, number 7 has a space here. At seller's tangible personal property located at the property that is used to be in connection with the property operations, except any personal property not included in the sale must be removed by the seller prior to closing. So that's number 7. B7 is just basically if the seller has any personal properties, you want the seller, like, let's say it's a 5-unit building and he's got his grandmother grandma clock on the wall. You know, like one of those cuckoo clocks. You guys remember those cuckoo clocks? Okay. Well, let's say that this seller wants to take that cuckoo clock from the wall of one of the units, and it's not going to convey. Well, he better write it there, okay? So the clock is not included in the sale, okay? Okay, so you just started following. I hope to connect with you soon. I do too, Jarrell. Thank you very much. We got a comment from Mark. Do we have to be a TAR member to legally use this form? That's a very good question. No, you don't have to be a TAR member to use this form. It's public, public documents. So I can send it to you, or you can go ahead and request one through one of your agents or broker friends. I've used this already in a couple of the commercial deals that we took down. All right. Moving on. And if you can go ahead and check Trek and see if Trek has a commercial form. I mean, I could probably check right now if I wanted to. Should I go check, guys? You want me to go check? Let's go check. Let's see here. Where are we? I could just jump on here and go to my Sabor. Okay, I'm going to log in as a member of Sabor. Boom. Okay, I'll check for you, Alex. If that makes you feel better, I'll check for Alex, which is my boy. Okay, add forms. I know I'm going real fast because this is what I do all day, every day, right? All right, I'm gonna check on Trek. Boom. All forms commercial, and this was called this one is called commercial contract. Okay, let's go. So here are all the forms for commercial real estate in a Trek format. Coastal, golf course, seller disclosure, easement, environmental information, termination of contract, notice of buyer's termination. I see no forms here that is under Trek. You see my cursor? Trek commercial. See that? So to answer your question, that would be no. That's right. You could go straight to there, but I'm looking at it right now. I'm on Sabor right now. All right. So I don't see any document here that allows you to write up a contract. So yeah, you would have to get it from Trek, from TAR, or you can have an attorney write it up. But hell, I would just do it up on TAR. So getting back to my tutorial here. Is go ahead and move down to sale price. Okay, so sale price is up here. Oh, and by the way, I mean, listen, guys, we're wholesalers, right? We always have to think outside the box. So if this form is only supposed to be used by an agent or a broker, well, hell, I'm an agent. I'm inactive, but I'm an agent. So, you know, if anything, just says you had one of your associates in your team who's an agent write up the contract for you. That's all. Hey, you know a friend of yours who's a broker, who's an agent in your neighborhood, and he wrote up the contract. I was just, I'm buying it, but he wrote it up. That's all. What's the big deal? So we're going to move on. So that's the way you get around that. Cash, number 3, cash price. Okay, well, you're going to take down this 5-unit building for $275,000. $257,000 is what you agreed with the seller. And guess what? You're going to go ahead and wholesale this baby for maybe $350, right? Who knows how much you can wholesale it for? But we're taking this one down strictly with the seller at that price. So A is cash portion, and then of course C again is the same number because you're buying all cash, right? You're buying all cash, just like a one-family house, guys. So that doesn't change anything. I hope you can see my writing here. Okay, I'm making it big so you can see the text. Okay. Yeah, you don't need the clock on the wall. Don't be the smart ass, Tony. I'm gonna see you Wednesday, right? All right, cool. Now that's page 1. Again, remember the seller always initials over here. Big initial on every page, right there. Boom. Initial X. Okay. Make sure they initial every page. Very important. And you're gonna initial here after they finished. So that's page 1 of the commercial contract. For those of you that are tuning in a little bit late, we're going over commercial contracts. All right, that's page 1, and looks like my video ended. For my Frankie Cutlass video ended. Okay. Ooh, look at all the people that are watching. Yeah. Well, they come and go, right? Very good. Thomas joined in. Michael Fox, Kevin. Okay, what up? What up? Okay, we got Tony Flores. We got Jen Brown. We got Christian. We got Ari. What's up, Ari? What's up, Eric? What's up, Jeannie? Jamie, excuse me. All right, give me some hearts. Give me some likes. All right, moving on. Let's go on to the second page of this commercial contract. Okay. Well, I thought that was a. Here we go. Here we go. So next is the financing part. Was it? Okay. Page 1. There's 14 pages, guys. This is a long contract. 14 pages. So we're gonna go on to the next page. Every page has an address on top, so make sure you put the address on top over here. Financing. Buyer will finance the portion of the sales price under paragraph 3B as follows. Is it third party? No. Is it assumption? No. Is it seller financing? No. It's all cash. So these stay blank. All right. There is no third party financing. It's not contingent upon any loan here. Very good. Sum of financing described in paragraph 4. So being that this is all cash, there is no financing. CB says paragraph 4 right here. Okay, we're going to move on to paragraph 4 right here. And paragraph 4 is a loan. Buyer will finance. You know, if this was like a sub 2 or something, yes, you can start doing your sub 2 additions here, but this is not a sub 2 takedown, and it's not an owner financing takedown. If it was an owner financing, well then yes, seller financing would be here, C, where the seller holds a note. But just for tutorial reasons, now we're not going to do any of that creative financing stuff. So we're going to go on to 5, earnest money. Okay, earnest money, no later than 3 days after the effective date, buyer must deposit. Now, be very careful here, guys, because when you're dealing with these type of sellers, they're a little bit more sophisticated. They're not going to take $10, all right, or $50. So if you're going to be making a score on this one, you feel you can move it and make some serious fee on it, you start thinking outside of the box that you usually do and say, okay, well, hell, how much deposit am I going to leave? If you could say maybe I'll leave $500, right? Okay. Well, Mr. Seller, I'm going to leave $500 as the earnest money, and if he feels comfortable with that, then great. Here you put the title company, right? Alamo title company, or whatever title company you like to use. All right, et cetera, just like a one-family house with the address of the title company. Now, if a case, and we run into this sometimes where the seller doesn't feel comfortable with $500 or $100, well, we'll say to the seller, now listen to me carefully, guys. We'll tell the seller, listen, Mr. Seller, I'm leaving $500 here as deposit, earnest money, okay? And if you like another deposit, fine, but I'm not going to leave that deposit now. I'll leave it after we have run the title search, and the title search is clean and it's clear. There's no clouds, there's no judgments. Then we'll go ahead and leave another $500 deposit. So that may be what you need to negotiate. So that would be over here. If you have to do that, just leave another $500 deposit right there on additional deposit. Follow me, guys? All right. What's up, Jose, for watching? Anthony, Oscar, everybody, welcome in. And so it says on 5B, a $500 deposit with the title company made on or before. Now this is important, guys, okay? With commercial contracts, they have what they call a contingency period, but they give it a different name, all right? And so here with $500, it would be blank days after buyer's right to terminate under 7B. So you check this one and say, you know, after how many days after the buyer's right to terminate. You can say after 2 or 3 days. Okay, we're going to go into that paragraph number 7 in a bit. Okay, but remember I put 3 days here. Or you can always put the check mark and make your own terms. So it does give you that option to give you your own terms. Okay. Moving on to 6 is title policies, surveys. Again, typical like your 1 to 4 family with the survey. Will it be amended? Will it not be amended? You could check off, you know, it would not be amended. That's what we put on our 1 to 4 family. Will not be amended. Okay. Number 3, within blank days, effective day, seller will furnish buyers a commitment for title insurance. Same thing like a 1 to 4 family. So within how many days after the effective date, seller will furnish buyer a commitment. That takes usually 10 days, right? So I would go ahead and put 14 days here, because you don't want to pressure your title company into moving too quickly. And remember, if you're going to be paying for the closing costs, well, then you have you don't want to pressure your title company either as well. So 3, within the clause number 3 would be within 14 days of the effective date, which is when the contract starts to, the clock starts to tick after the effective date, seller will furnish the buyer a commitment. Okay, within 14 days. It could be 10 days, it could be 8 days, it could be 5 days. But here I'm going to put 14 days, which is liberal. It's enough time, right? It's not putting you under the pressure. Initial, that's page 2. We're going to go to page 3 now, and that talks about survey. Again, you put the address on top, 123 Main Street. B is survey within blank days after the effective date. Well, do you need a survey? Yes or no? If the seller has one, great. You know, always take the survey if it's recent. You know, if it's not 20 or 30 years old, make sure it has a stamp on it so it's certified by a licensed surveyor. Stamps are very important. Okay, so keep that in mind. You try to always get a copy of the survey. For this tutorial, we don't need a survey, so I'll just leave that blank for now. Okay. If you like what you're seeing, please give me some likes. And of course, you have the option here if it's buyer's expense or seller's expense, just like a 1 to 4 family contract. Okay. Next is UCC search. Okay, this is not in the 1 to 4 family, and it says within blank days of the effective date, seller at seller's expense will furnish a buyer uniform commercial code search prepared by a reporting service and dated after the effective date. I never had to do any of these UCC searches, so I'm going to just keep that blank, and I'm going to put that you don't require that. So I'll just put a little check over here for the UCC. If you don't know what that is, go ahead and Google it. But for my scenario, I never had to use it. Okay, moving on to D, buyer's objections to the commitment, survey, and UCC. Of course, just like a 1 to 4 family, you can opt out of the contract if you're not happy with what the commitment says. Let's say it has too many liens or judgments and clouds and hairs and 20 hairs, and you don't want to be holding your money for a year in escrow. You have the right to get out of that contract. So with Hilco Homes, we usually put 3 days. 3 days within getting the commitment. Remember, of the commitment you're going to get within 14 days, you have the right to get out. All right. Very good. Moving on. We're on page 3 of commercial contract. How to prepare a commercial contract for a multi-family wholesale deal. All right. Again, don't forget the sellers have to initial every page on the bottom. We're going on to page 4. Property condition. The property condition. Okay. So, A7A, present condition. Buyers accepts the property in its present condition, except the seller. That seller expense will complete the following before closing. Again, just like 1 to 4 family, if you negotiated with the seller that he's gonna fix the front steps, or if he's gonna fix the part of the roof, you can go ahead and put that in this here clause that the seller has agreed to that. We usually don't do anything on that because we buy as is, right, guys? We buy as is, where is condition. So move on. Feasibility. Now, this is very important. You know how a 1 to 4 family has a option period, where here you have a feasibility period. Can you see my cursor? 7B. Okay. So 7B is very important. Because with these commercial contracts, if you're wholesaling it, the way we operate is we definitely want to take down that feasibility period to benefit us. Why? Because that's the time we're going to be shopping the contract to find an end buyer. Because if you contract it for too high, it may take you an extra few weeks to find an end buyer. All right. Now, if you price it correctly, you know how it is in this market. If it's priced right, it moves. If it's not priced right, it sits on the market for 30 days or it never sells. So feasibility periods are very important. And today's sellers that own commercial multifamilies, they understand that you're going to put a nice time frame in there. Minimum is 45 days. Okay, it's not a 5-day, it's not a 7-day, it's not a 10-day feasibility period. It's usually 30 days or more. We usually like to go with 45 days. So right here in the blank, we're going to put 45 days. Feasibility, which is an option period, basically. Okay? After the effective date. And the effective date is the date that the last person signs and the contract goes into effect. Right? Just like the 1 to 4 family, guys. All right, so moving on. Any questions? Now would be a great time to ask. We also have Paul on watching. Joshua Zapata. Joshua Zapata is a commercial real estate broker agent. So he understands commercial real estate. He's a good guy to know. Mauricio, Osvaldo, Tony, June, Lance. Thank you all for coming and going and watching this here. Important tutorial on how to contract a multifamily property for a wholesale transaction. Next is B.A. If buyer terminates on the 7B, the earnest money will be refunded to buyer less blank. Okay, listen. If you're willing to lose some money and you agreed that, you know what, if after 45 days, Mr. Seller, I kind of got the numbers don't work for me. I'm gonna let you keep the $250 of that $500. If you agree to that, which we never do. But hey, you may have to get that deal. You can say to the seller, okay, out of the $500, Mr. Seller, I'm going to let you keep $250 in your pocket for wasting your time. You know, it could be $1, it could be nothing. You know, we usually leave this blank, to be honest with you. But sometimes you have to negotiate, and you have to just go with what the seller wants to make him happy, right, or her happy. So that's where that would go. So make sure you click on the little check there, Mark. Okay. Okay. Big check mark in case you're blind. Moving on. So we're at B, feasibility period. B, not later than 3 days after the effective date, buyer must pay the seller blank as independent consideration for buyer's right to terminate by tendering such amount to sellers or seller's agent. Again, this is another expense that you may have to incur. We always negotiate to leave that blank. We don't want to have to pay out if we can't sell this contract. But you see, you're either going to check A or B or nothing. Okay, we don't check anything on the last commercial few deals that we did. Okay, we have the right to terminate if we don't get it. If we don't get it sold here within 45 days, it means sold meaning contracted to an assignee, then we get our money back. Okay, so if you can't negotiate that, then you need to do A or B. Okay, moving on to 2, feasibility period extension. If you need more time, you can, the contract allows you to put an extension. Okay, how cool is that? Okay, but you may need an extension with X amount of days, and guess what? You're may have to leave another deposit. Okay, over here, another deposit of $100. That's if you're feeling really gutsy and you're like, you know what? I know I can move this property. I just need some more time. Well, then that's where you'll put this extension over here. Okay, for another $100 or whatever the case may be. Everybody follow me so far? Am I talking too quickly? Do you like what you see? Give me some likes. Give me some likes if you're enjoying my little tutorial. And again, as I said earlier, I'm going to be putting all my videos together into one playlist so you can see whatever you're pertaining to, whatever deal, whatever questions you have about wholesaling. You can just pull up one of my videos. Okay. Next is inspections, studies, and assessments. Of course, that's your due diligence. And it goes into some legal talk, blah, blah, blah. Moving on to page 5. This is a 14-page contract, guys. So keep that in mind. We're moving along here. All right. All right. So we were over here, and now we're property. D, property information. Okay. Page 5, property information, delivery for a property within blank days. So within, I'm going to say 10 days, I'm going to give this guy, this seller, maybe I'm going to bust his chops and ask him for the documents much faster. Within 5 days, okay, so you signed the contract with the seller, you left the deposit, and you're telling the seller within 5 days, I want all this information to be provided to me. Now, this is important, guys, okay? Because now, remember, you're dealing with multi-units. You need to get the rent rolls and the expenses, the breakdown, the Schedule C, Schedule K, all these other IRS terminologies for these apartments so you could give it to the buyer, right? You're going to be showing this to a buyer. He's going to want to see the numbers. And these buyers are sophisticated. They're not, this is not your one-family house type of fix and flip, all right? So with that said, you're going to check off on a current rent roll. You want the current rent roll on the commercial apartment complex. A current rent roll of all the leases affecting the property certified by seller as true and correct. Okay, you want a copy of the leases. Okay, copy of the leases right there. Okay, including mineral leases if it's in the oil area, modifications, supplements, amendments to the leases. A current inventory of all personal property to be conveyed by this contract. I don't do current inventory unless they have like a washer and dryer facility. Then you could add that as an inventory. Copies of all notes and deeds of trust against the property that the buyer will assume. Now, we're not doing that on this transaction. Tutorial is strictly a sale cash. But if it was a subject to or some type of owner financing, that you may want to look at D. Next is copies of current utilities. This is important. You want to see, okay, well, what are your expenses, Mr. Seller? You want to, hold them to their feet because sometimes they lie. Let's be honest, they lie. So, a copy of the current utilities. Let me see your water bill. Let me see your electric bill. Let me see your management contract that you have that they take 10% for, managing your property. Okay. Next is F, copies of the current utilities capacity letters. That's what I just said earlier is utilities. G, copies of the current warranties. Very rarely you can have any warranties. I mean, unless you bought like new appliances for everything, or you have a warranty for some type of mechanical, HVAC or something like that. If it's not window AC, so if there are some new things there, you may want to see if they have the warranties, and if the warranties are of course, transferable. So if you see any new stuff there, you may want to ask for the warranties if there's any warranties. But generally, we're dealing with crap properties that have no warranties, that are outdated, that need to be repositioned, multifamilies, and that's what we love because that's where the money is. Next is copies of fire hazard liability, insurance policy. Yeah, that's important. I want to see what kind of insurance policy these guys has on this property. Copies of lease of commissions agreements that are currently related to tenants of all parts of the property. Leases are already checked off in A and B. There is no commission agreements unless you're dealing with a broker, and if you are dealing with a broker, the seller's paying the broker, so I don't really care about that. J, a copy of the as-built plans and specifications and plan of the property. That's more important, like the survey kind of thing. Not a deal breaker. I don't want it. You don't want to overwhelm the seller, guys. If you're a seller, you're dealing with a seller and he's 85 years old and he's got his cane and he's, you can't hear well. You don't want to overburden the seller with all this information. Just get the basic information, get the meat of it, and move on. Okay, guys? K, copies of invoices, utilities, repairs incurred by the seller within 24 hours in the 24-hour immediate preceding the effective date. Copies of invoices, repairs. If there were some major repairs, then you know what? Let me see the bill of that one. Again, I don't overburden the seller with that kind of stupid stuff. I think is not necessary. A copy of the seller's income expense statement from the property. That's important. Income expense is sort of like what they show to the accountants to do their taxes. Environmental assessments. M, not important. N, real property tax statements for the last 2 calendar years. That's more the IRS, what you filed. That's important. So, let's see what kind of it says on your taxes. Tenants reconciliation statements, including operation expense insurance. And you could do a time frame here. So I like to use O and put, I go with a 2-year span. So, we're in August now. So August 2017 to August 2019. Okay. And so those are the documents you want. Return policy in case you don't close on this deal, whatever, you get to give this back. How do you want to give it back? I do electronically, return to seller, by mail. Or you could delete and destroy it. So whichever you think is better for you, just check one of the boxes here, okay? Return to the seller. Electronic format is what I do. A. Okay, any questions so far, guys? Am I boring you? All right, moving on to E. That's the end of the page. We're going to go on to page 6 now. Leases. Okay, it goes into legal talk about leases. Estoppel certificates are important. Okay, within blank days of the effective day, seller will deliver to buyer certificates not earlier than blank for each tenant. So I would say for this one, because remember the seller has to go and meet with all the tenants, and they have to fill out this form and they have to sign it. So I'm not going to bust his chop too much. So I'm going to give him 15 days for this one to get done. 15 days. Okay, and not earlier than whatever the date, whatever date you want. Not earlier, certificate signed not earlier than, I guess that would be August, 15th. Okay, for those who don't know, estoppel certificates, and I think it's a French word, estoppels. It's basically, yes, Tony, estoppel. It's basically a one-page form that all the tenants have to sign, stating that when they started the lease, when the lease expires, what kind of condition the property is in, what utilities they're paying, just to confirm that I'm going to be the new owner, and I want to make sure that tenants know where they stand in terms of what they pay out and what their rents are, and if they have a lease or no lease. It's pretty standard stuff. nothing there, but the tenant does have to sign it. Okay. Moving on to number 9, brokers, and of course, if there is a broker involved, you got to put their information here. In this scenario, there is no broker involved. Give me one moment, please, because I have a visitor to just come stop by. Hello. Sorry, guys, I have my mechanic come by. He's going to do some work on my vehicle while I'm doing this tutorial. Don't you love a mechanic that does house calls? Well, I have a mechanic for my BMW, and he does house calls. How badass is that? By the way, the lady here on the right is my sister. She's a licensed real estate agent. But for this tutorial, thank you for the like, we're not doing any broker. If there was, then you just fill it out there. It's pretty much basic stuff. Moving on to page 7, it talks about the broker's fees and what their compensation is going to be, blah, blah, blah. So number 10 is closing. Now 10 you have to be very careful with, okay? Because remember, we have 45 days to do our due diligence option period, or in this contract or commercial, it's called feasibility period. Feasibility period. So here, 10A, the date of the closing of the sale, closing date, will be on or before the latter of what? You got 3 options, okay? They make it really easy for you to personalize it. 1, blank days after the expiration of the feasibility period. Or the second one, a specific date. Or 3, the third one, it gives you an option. You can just put whatever you think it's relevant to your deal. So we usually go with after the 45-day period. We'll just click on that one, and I can't click. It doesn't let me put my check mark, but we'll go with that one. And I would say if it took me 45 days to find a buyer, and I feel comfortable with that, then 5 days. 5 days after the feasibility period, right? Check mark. Or a specific date. Remember, you have 45 days. So you really got to figure out what kind of deal you got, whether you think you can move it quickly or not. It all depends on price. If you think you can move it quickly and you know you're good to go, then put a specific date. But if you think you need the 45 days and you want a 5-day window after that, then you go with the first one, okay? Or you can check this one here, and it gives you a blank. You can do whatever you like. But read this carefully, because it does give you different options. The second line is number 2. 7 days after the objections made under paragraph 6D have been cured or waived. That's if there were some issues with the title and it wasn't clear. Then here it says, number 2, you have another window there where it says after it's been cured or waived, then you can close after 7 days. Okay. B, C, and again it goes into more legal talk here. C, at closing, seller will execute and deliver to buyer at seller's expense a general or specific warranty deed. Now that's more of a lawyer question, more of a title question. I believe what we usually do is a general. We don't do special. Okay. We don't specials. I think it's like for tax liens, purchases is a special warranty deed. We like to go with a general warranty deed. Okay, and you can always Google that to understand what the difference is. All right, moving on. D, at closing, seller's expense will deliver to buyer. Now here you gotta be careful too, because remember, you've agreed that you're gonna pay all the closing costs. So I've had lawyers review this, and they start crossing out all this stuff, because on the special provisions it says that I'm paying the closing costs. So at closing, seller's expense, you see that? That could be a problem, right? So you gotta really watch what you're signing here. Of course, the taxes, if they're delinquent, then the seller pays the taxes, right, guys? We pay the closing costs, which is the deed recordings and the title insurance policy. So I believe there's 1 or 2 here that has title, and so you would just cross that out and have them initial. Okay. Okay. Whenever you change anything on the contract, you always have the seller and you initial that. Always. Okay? Okay, E. At closing, buyer will pay the sale price in good funds acceptable to the title company, which is usually wired funds or a certified check. All right. 11 is possessions. 12 is special provisions. Okay, so special provisions, like I said earlier, buyer pays all closing costs, or whatever you usually write. I know. You could tailor this to whatever you like. Do you feel comfortable with costs? I know this is where a lot of wholesalers put in that their investment partners need to inspect the property to approve the sale, or things of that nature. We have a separate document that has all that written up. So we don't do that on our special provisions. All we do on our special provisions is buyer pays all closing costs, except for real estate taxes. So keep that in mind. You never want to pay the taxes of the property. That always has to be paid by the seller, unless you negotiated that. All right? Okay, cool. What's up, BJ? Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate the hearts and likes. We're going over commercial contracts for multifamily purchases. Okay? We're on page 8. Sales expenses. Seller's expenses. Again, you got to be careful here, guys, because you may already... I just wrote down that buyer pays all closing costs. Well, if the buyer is paying all the closing costs, why is it saying here that the seller's paying for it? So here is where you have to go over each line, preparing of the deed and any bill of sale. That's a closing cost. So what would you do? You have to cross this sucker out, right? And then make sure that the seller's initial that, right? What else? 1/2 of the escrow fee. No, that's being paid by you, because that's what you just said at the line above. Okay. Cost of record recordings, all right, with the county, that's going to be paid by you, so cross that out. Okay. Other expenses that the seller will pay under other provisions of this contract. Well, be careful, because other provisions may say taxes, so you will leave that the way it is. Tax statements or certificates. Now, tax statements is not the taxes; it's just the statements. So I believe that's part of your closing costs, so you would not cross that out as well. Certificates, that's all closing costs that the buyers usually pay. Okay. Release of seller's loan liability, if he had a loan, then you cross that out. All right. Buyer's expenses. Buyer will pay for the following at or before closings. If there was a loan, but there's no loan because it's a cash deal, yes, the buyer pays for the recording fees. Flood zone, I hope it's not in the flood zone, because then you're screwed. I'm just kidding. But, no, okay. Moving on. I think you guys understand that much, right? Anything handwritten, if it in contract is typed, should be initial too. Yes, anything handwritten on the side of the contract, because I know lawyers love to do that, by the way. They love writing the little notes on the side of the contract. Yes, I would have the seller initial that, and then you should initial that. Me personally, I like to do my stuff really professional-like. I don't like anything handwritten. I like everything typed up professionally. It just looks much more cleaner. And I'm like a perfectionist when it comes to this shit. So keep that in mind. But good question there, Tony. Prorations, interest on any assumed loan. Like again, we're not assuming any loan. Okay, so we're going to move on to page 9 here. Page 8. It goes into rollback taxes, rent securities, closing. And rent securities are important. Remember, we always want to collect that. Default, 15. If buyer fails to comply with this contract, buyer's in default, blah, blah, blah. Check if applicable. All right. Well, shit. Do you want to get sued if your buyer doesn't go through with this? No. So I would not check this button here. Enforce specific performance of such, or seek such relief by law. All right. But this here clause on default 13A is if the buyer defaults. We're usually working with the buyer, so you probably may want to leave that blank, so that it can't be enforced for a specific performance. Moving on to 9, attorney fees, escrow. Okay, more legal talk, escrow. Okay, G, seller or buyer intends to complete this transaction as part of an exchange of like-kind properties. This is talking about 1031 tax exchange, guys. Now, if your seller is doing a 1031 tax exchange, then yeah, I mean, you gotta know this, right? I mean, you gotta ask the seller the question: are you doing a 1031 tax exchange to avoid paying capital gains tax? If so, you better make sure she marked off yes, seller. Or if the buyer is using the money from another sale to purchase this property, then you mark off buyer. I've never had to do this because neither my seller nor buyer was doing a 1031 tax exchange. So that was always left blank. But keep that in mind, you have that option. Material rights, material facts. To the best seller of knowledge and belief, check one box. Seller is not aware of any material defects of the property and attached to the commercial property condition statement. Okay, this is important, guys. Number 19. Just like a 1 to 4 family, when you have the seller property notice, which a lot of you wholesalers don't use, you're opening yourself up for a lawsuit. In my opinion, you don't want to do that. Well, for commercial, multifamily, and commercial properties, you also have a commercial property condition statement, which I'm going to show you after we finish here. So this is saying seller is not aware of any material defects. Okay, if he is, then he should put. He would not check that off, right? You could read A and B and decide which one is best for you. Okay, but that is the property condition disclosure, just like a one family. Moving on to page 10, clause number 20, notices. Seller also consents to receive notices by email. So that's important. This is for the title company that the title company can send them by email. A buyer also consents by email to be sent documents on the closing. Okay, moving on. Talks about dispute and agreement of the parties. And Okay, now D, addendums, which is part of the contracts, which check all that apply. So basically, we're going to go with property description exhibit. That's not important. It's not a condominium. There's no financing. You always want to check this one here, number 4, if you're going to have the seller fill out the property condition statement, which I would ask you that you please do that to avoid being sued in the future. Addendums for special provisions, addendum for lead paint disclosure. Now this is important too. A lot of you guys don't do this, but you're taking a risk. If the property is built before 1978, multi-family home, remember you're dealing with tenants here, with kids, and so you don't want this shit coming back to you if there's lead paint in the property. Okay, so always make sure you check that off. We do that all the time. The rest is information that doesn't pertain to us. Of course, here information about broker services. We check that off because Hillary Romero, she's an agent, so we always want to disclose that no one's being represented here. We're not representing the seller. We're not representing the end buyer, right? This is a strict seller to buyer deal, no broker involved. But being that Hillary is a broker, we always like to disclose that she's an agent for Hilco because she owns the company, but she's not representing anybody. Does that make sense? Okay. Moving on to page 12. E, buyer may or may not assign the contract. Okay, this is probably the most important page, the most important clause of the contract, which is, where are we? Number 22, 22E. 22E. All right, which one do you think you're going to check off? May or may not assign this contract. Can I get some guesses? Are we assigning this or not? Yes, we are. All right, so boom. You want to make sure that you check on may assign. So how badass is that? 1 to 4 family, you don't have that clause. But for commercial contract, there's actually a clause there that says that you can assign the contract. So there you go. All right, thank you, Go, for watching, Tony. I answered your question. Time is of the essence in this contract. Ooh, effective dates. Okay, additional notices. Nothing else here. Looks like that needs to be completed. We're on page 13 now. License holder. If you're a license holder, then you put your name here. Contract as offer. This one is interesting. 26. Contract as offer. The execution of this contract by the first party constitutes an offer to buy or sell the property. Unless the other party accepts the offer by 5 p.m. in the time zone in which the property is located on blank, the offer will lapse and become null and void. So unless the party accepts the offer by 5 p.m., this is weird. It gives like the seller a 1 day notice. Hey, listen, you either accept this contract by the end of the day or it's going to be voided. That's nice to use. You know, you want to put this pressure on the seller. Say, hey, Mr. Seller, you know, it's August 12th, right? If I don't hear from you by 5 p.m. today, guess what? My offer is going in the trash can. That may work for you. I don't know if I would use that strategy, but there you go. You have the offer right there. All right. Here is where the seller signs. Here's where you sign. You have to. I like to print out their names here. Okay. And if it's a corporation, then you know it's a manager or a member. Then it would go here, right? And the signature there to print their names and what their title is. So it's a little bit more specific here. Okay. Always remember there may be an LLC, a corporation. Make sure you spell it all out. Okay, guys. That's page 13. Page 14 is for the title company. Principal brokers agree to pay. We're not dealing with brokers here. We're not dealing with lawyers here. Down here is important. Escrow receipted. This is all you need to know. This is where the title company goes into play, and the contract on this day, this effective date, and the earnest money, and how much the earnest money, in the form of what, and the title company, email, phone number, all that good stuff goes over here. Okay. And that is the contract. That is the 1 to 4. That is the commercial contract for a multifamily wholesale takedown. If you have any questions, now would be a great time to ask me. Again, if you're not a TAR member or you're not an agent or broker, you can see the fine print here. It says, use this form by persons who are not members of the TREC of TAR is not authorized. Okay, well, shit. If it was me, I'd be like, okay, well, I had my sister who's an agent fill it out. I didn't fill it out. My sister filled it out. Or if you don't have a sister like I do, that's an agent. Well, my broker or my agent, I know that we work together as a team. They filled it out. I did not fill it out. Right? Okay. Remember, I am not an attorney and I'm not an accountant, so I'm not giving any legal advice here, guys. All right? I'm just telling you how to take down a multifamily home. Okay. So that is the contract. Now, next one is going to be the commercial property condition statement, which I told you earlier about. You always want to fill this out too. So, property located at, you put the address there, and again, the seller has to be aware or not aware of all these conditions of the property. Okay, make sure they fill it out correctly. You know, with a aware, not aware, or not applicable. Okay, just like the seller's property disclosure for a 1 to 4 family. Once that's done, then you're gonna go ahead and have the seller sign it again, just like a contract. Okay. Any questions on that? No. Okay. Wonderful. So I'm going on to over an hour here. I just wanted to say thank you for everyone who was watching. Hopefully you picked up a few things here, and I'm happy to share my experience and knowledge of commercial contracts with you. I also want to let you know that I'm going to be working on putting together all my videos here on my YouTube channel. As you can see, has my name on it, the Hilco logo on it, and I'm starting the library here of all the videos that I've been doing in the last year and a half here, and I'm going to be categorizing them and putting a playlist together, okay, so that you can watch any video that pertains to your situation, and just watch them again so you could completely figure out how to prepare any documents or how to negotiate or how to do any wholesale transaction. With that said, I'm going to end the show here, and again, thank you for watching. tonight's tutorial on commercial contracts. And remember, it's not what you deserve, but what you negotiate. And with that, have a good evening.